Hello, everyone. This is Wande Katoon, the Resolute Rose, here again with the third interview of the I Am Resolutionary interview series. I am joined today by artist Jessy DeSantis. And hey, Jessy. She's a self-taught artist and storyteller here in Baltimore City. And so I'm not going to take from you. I think we should just go ahead and hop right in. So, Jessy, tell the people who you are and what is your story.
Sure. I am a self-taught artist. I started painting seriously 2 years ago. I am a mother of two girls, 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. I am originally from Miami and moved to Baltimore, and that's when my art career started forming.
Yeah.
My mother lives with us, my partner, and we're just a multi-generational home here in Baltimore. And yeah.
Something about the energy of Baltimore, I was just like, all right, well, I moved here for one thing, but sorry, guys, I'm gonna start transitioning now.
Yeah, I think the city supports the arts for sure.
Yeah.
And there's I feel like an authenticity to the city.
Yep.
And especially coming from Miami, where things, and people are very materialistic. And also I come from an immigrant community, so this notion of the American dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, oh, your parents, for me, it's my mother, working hard and, learning a new language. Like, hey, you have to get a good job or get an education, right? So you can prosper. And then also just being in Miami, it's like I felt like what is a stable job. So I studied accounting. I got my bachelor's and master's. I was working in Big Four in federal taxation. I was like, okay, I guess this is life. It was not fulfilling. I started to have a family. And in Baltimore, it's like you can't really get too far if you don't have substance,
Yeah. Hello.
So definitely becoming a mother and then moving to Baltimore, and then the support for the arts.
Yeah.
It just completely just changed my trajectory in life. Like, I'm really just was soul searching. It was what's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was also support. Like, you have the support from the city, but I have support from my family as well. And yeah, so became an artist. And I know you have a similar story.
When I met you, and I was like, man, she's so goals. Like, I just can't wait till, the day that I get to do that. And, lo and behold, things, I guess, aligned in a way for that or something similar, to happen to me, where I left my job in healthcare, which is what I moved to Baltimore for. But it was a similar story. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. Now I'm starting a family. And there's just a lot of soul searching and, do I want to bring life into this world, like, under these particular circumstances? And the answer was a glaring no. Mm-hmm. So I think it takes a lot of courage. So much respect to you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not.
Right. But, you encouraged me. I was like, well, Jessy can do it, so I can too.
How did your family take this? And like being like from, Nigeria, from Lagos.
Yeah, I was like being, once again, from an immigrant family, like, it's in Nigeria, you're a doctor, lawyer, engineer. And so I was really, really nervous to tell my family, like, hey, y'all. But I remember going home in June and my dad asking me, he was like, so baby, how are you? And I like burst into tears out of nowhere. And I was like, well, that wasn't expected. He was like, I can tell you're not happy. I knew it, from the moment you walked out of, the airport. And I was like, oh, wow. And so we ended up having like this long life discussion. And so I told him first how I was feeling and what I was thinking. And he was like, well, baby, don't ever let anyone else determine your life's path but you. And I was like, oh, well, that's surprising. Like, I was completely taken aback. But so he was fully supportive. And then I ended up telling my mom, and she was like, something told me this was coming. So she was fully supportive. And I was like, oh, so you guys are just waiting on me? So it went much better than expected. And I think that their support, not that I was looking for their approval, but that definitely affirmed my decision. Like, okay, we can do this. We're out of here. So if not for their support, I probably would have kicked the can down the road a little bit more, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And that gave me chills when you said you broke down crying, because I had it like almost the exact same experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I broke down and I was just like, I have to do this. And in my mind, and I believe this, if I didn't do it now at that time, I wouldn't have done it for another 30 years. And I believed that.
Exactly. I felt like I have to do it now. Like, now, it's literally now or seemingly never. And who's to say that I'll be here in 30 years? I was like, the world needs my voice now. My art needs me now. Like, I need my art now. So it's just like, we're going for this.
Yeah, that's That's amazing. It just brought me back. I was like, yeah, that's huge. It's huge. And I felt like I was gonna let my mother down, like, and she took it very well, and she was supportive. So
Yeah, love that. All right. So, I'm a huge, huge fan of your artwork. I like send people your page often. And I love the colors and just how you incorporate, your heritage and your culture with, like the native animals. And you just pay homage to your Nicaraguan culture in a way that's not overt, but it's very welcoming regardless of, where you're from. So can you talk about why incorporating your heritage into your work is so important?
sure. So I call my work magical realism, and when I began painting, I started painting places in Baltimore
Mhm.
that had this surrealism in it, where I incorporated uh, familiar objects to me, uh, being from Nicaragua, right? And also Miami. There's a lot of culture that we took to Miami.
Mhm.
Um, my family was there and is there. But our food, like if we wanted to go to a fritanga, like which is Nicaraguan street food, like we can do that. And I started incorporating birds, trees, or pottery, all these symbols that are Nicaraguan, and it was really a reflection of myself here.
Yeah.
And there's this self-discovery in that comes out with your paintings, where it's like you paint something that you're passionate about.
Right.
And for me, it was where I'm from, who my ancestors are, and also just like that calling. It's like I'm here, but I'm also from here, and blending the two, and just showing myself as a visual representation through my paintings. And that's how it started. Right. And it's evolved into portraiture,
Mhm.
to foods. My latest painting is of corn, and I got some like feedback where it's like I've never seen corn as like the main subject of a painting like that. And I was like, yeah, me neither. But like that's ancestral foods, right? Like I grew up eating nacatamales and tortilla, and like it led me to think and research like where these foods come from, why do we eat them,
Right.
right? And what's the significance? Like I feel like there has to be significance in everything. So like I question a lot, and so it's led me to plant my own corn this year. With the pandemic, there's a lot of gardening going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like everybody like adopted so many houseplants. And then I was like, this is it. I'm gonna grow some corn, and it was a reconnection. It was a reconnection to something my ancestors have done like for thousands of years, which was beautiful. I didn't even think I was gonna have like the experience I did. So paint, like this was a corn that I grew in my yard, so it's personal, right?
Right.
It's not just corn. There's so much more to it.
Yeah. Even when you were working on it, I was like, why is this corn so mesmerizing? Like it came up in I told you, it came up in one of my dreams. And I was like, okay, so now I'm dreaming about corn.
Corn.
But there's just like, I love that you said magical realism.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Because
love
like
that. It's
what
true.
was it? 100 Years of Solitude, a book by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I read that in high school, and I wasn't like a good student. So that was like the first like real big book that I read, and I thought it was so beautiful. And that term was a literary term. And I took it. I was like, that's what my paintings are. They're magical. And
Yeah.
I paint in a very realistic style sometimes,
Mhm.
and it's because I want to visualize how I feel,
Yeah.
so I feel like the realism helps with that.
I dig it. I love it. Oh my goodness. All right. So I know you're also, and I don't know if you call yourself this, but from the outside looking in, I see you as just such a huge activist as well. And I know you mentioned that you're a mom. And
Yeah.
so like I see you and your girls, out and about, standing up for issues that, are important to not only just you, but like the world. And
Right.
so of course you start thinking about, legacy and what role legacy might play. So what role would you say that legacy plays in your activism, but also in your artwork?
Sure. I don't really like call myself an activist. I think advocate, for human rights, maybe, just because like there's so many people doing like the real work on the ground,
Mhm.
and I feel like as a mother, like there's just so much I can do. And then I started realizing that parenting is political, right?
Yes.
There's activism in parenting and like raising the next generation,
Yeah.
teaching our kids what this government doesn't want them to learn about themselves, right? And about the history of this country. And then, taking that into your own hands, and that's through my painting, there's storytelling. It's intended for my kids. Like
Yeah.
It is, and what I found as an artist is that it resonates, right, with others. But the reality is, it's intended for my children because this is stories I want to pass down to my future generation. And then also like just being real. Like I'm biracial, so there's such a unique perspective, and like there's this lack of sense of belonging also, and it's very unique. And I very much like dive into, you know, the realities of what it means to be lighter skinned with a brown family, like the privileges that holds, and then teaching my kids who are even lighter skinned than I am, you know, like their privileges. And you know, it's just something that I feel like everyone needs to do right now. Also just supporting like through mutual aid where you can, you know.
Right.
In the immigrant community here in Baltimore, my family, a lot of my family members crossed the border. Like a lot of them were undocumented. Some just got their citizenship after like 20 plus years, you know, in this country.
Yeah.
And now, like with the pandemic and, you know, this lack of government like stimulus checks for anyone really, but like undocumented folks are not getting nothing, and you know, they're getting paid under the table, or like, you know, like they're just not getting support. They're getting evicted by their landlords. They're being threatened with ICE calls, you know. I try to use my art to raise awareness. I try to use my art to raise funds, like through print sales. Like it's just like there's so much like feeling of hopelessness, and I hate when I get to that, because like you feel like there's this big thing and like you're one person and you can't do everything, of course, but I think if everybody does something like a little bit, like and ways that you can, like with me it's parenting, it's art, it's art sales, like just doing what I can.
I do appreciate the term advocate, and I also appreciate the fact that you mentioned that everybody can play a part. Like it's not like everybody has to be out on the streets or everybody has to do this or that. I remember when a lot of things, you know, this year in particular first kind of started popping off, especially around when George Floyd was murdered. People, like there were some frameworks that came out even, and it's like some people will be the caregivers, some people will be the people who are out and about, some people will be the educators, and I really, really appreciated that framework. Of course it wasn't all inclusive, but I think that it really helped to demonstrate that, you know, everyone has a role to play. You just have to figure out what that is for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just keep going, you know. It's a lifelong thing.
So with Resolute Rose, I'm trying to, you know, make clear, or just one of the kind of quotes that came to me when I started Resolute Rose was true purpose is where passion and vulnerability collide. And I think that one thing I can appreciate just about being an artist and connecting with other artists, there's a certain vulnerability that we all share, but what roles would you say that passion, of course, but also vulnerability plays in your own pursuit of purpose?
You have to write what you know. And I definitely like translated that into art. Like you got to paint what you know. And I think that just brings like that offers, you know, this authentic version of yourself. And it's the part about purpose that really like just messed me up, because it's like, do we know what our purpose is? Like I can't even answer that. Like I feel like we're ever evolving. And I think with that, our art will evolve. You know, you soon you'll be a mother, and I can't wait to see how your art is going to evolve around that. You know, because like if you're not being vulnerable and like real with what you're painting, like what are you producing, right? Right. Yeah, but I think because we're artists and because we made that decision, like we didn't feel fulfilled, and so like what's our purpose? What's our purpose?
Good. So I'm gonna transition a little bit into what I'm calling a lightning round, and so just answer the first thing that comes to your mind. It's 3 questions, so nothing like, you know, crazy. But the first question is, what is one book or quote, I know you mentioned a book earlier, that has directly influenced your journey as a creative?
All right, so I'm gonna say that one. It's 100 Years of Solitude, just the idea of magical realism. Man, I've been just going back and relearning history that we weren't taught. So 1492 was a good one. I felt like that was very eye-opening. That one line, write what you know, I think that translates with art, paint what you know. Okay. And I think it's okay if you paint like idols and things like that, like, you know, speak to you, you know. Okay, so I think those are some good ones there.
Second question, what is a non-negotiable part of your day that directly contributes to your work and or well-being?
This one's very simple. It's my hot shower. And
Yes.
I know that sounds like so basic, but when you become a parent and it's like your time is consumed, man. Like I need that hot shower to just alone time. And I'm not actually alone. Like my shower, there's a shower in the bathtub and my daughter's like playing in the bathtub and I'm like showering next to her. But still, it's still my time. It's not negotiable.
You get it in, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be fill in the blank. So my name is, and then you say your name, and you say, and I am resolutionary because blank.
Okay, my name is Jessy, and I am resolutionary. Let me do that again. My name is Jessy, and I am resolutionary because I am vulnerable.
Yes, snap, snap, snaps. Okay.
And
Last thing, where and how can people support your work?
sure, I'm on Instagram. It's DeSantis Art. I usually post a bunch of stories there, updates. Usually, it's not art related. It's more of that advocacy or parenting or whatnot, whatever's on my brain. But from time to time, you can see some art updates, what I'm working on, or what I'm raising funds for. And then also my website. It's www.jdesantisart.com.
Awesome. And I'll include all of that information for the people that watch. Hopefully, more people find out about your beautiful work.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course, of course, of course.